The James Show Podcast.
What do you think about flag burning, Roy, in Fort Worth?
Hey, first of all, I like your show. I was in the Air Force for 32 years, and I've had somebody in my family in the military since the War of 1812. And I fought for people's rights to do that. However, what you and the last caller were talking about, I'm on board with 100%. Now, the guy that called from outside of McKinney, Frisco, I guarantee you that guy never did 1 minute of service for this nation.
I'm sorry, which guy are we talking about?
I think 3 callers ago.
Don't say his name. What was his position?
He just was like, well, yeah, you can do it. You shouldn't do it, but yeah, you can do it. But I agree with you as far as certain situations, like, if you're an idiot in your backyard or whatever. But being in the military or being a police officer, firefighter, anybody that's served this nation with your life, you want to see somebody's blood boil, that's where it'll happen, But like you said, in certain situations, it should be legal. But in like what Holly was saying, that if you're doing something illegal, first of all, and then you bring the flag on top of that, we're going to put more candles and icing on your cake, and you get a nice, longer vacation. So
yeah, and generally speaking, I disagree with the idea of hate crime laws. Like if you commit a robbery or an assault, a battery, or shooting, a murder, it's one sentence. But if you do it with the aggravating factor of saying an ethnic slur, then it gets escalated. Well, then is everyone else's hatred being escalated except for hatred against me, except for hatred against my principles in my country? We can't just have hate crime laws go one way. Are you against hate or are you not? And so that I like trying to rope the American flag in there, because really I would like to see all hate crime laws go away. I despise the idea of making something illegaler because of the thought.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're a country of laws and order, but there's certain things that need to be adjusted here and there, I mean, and I've been to 43 countries, and this is the best gig on this planet, and people don't understand that, people have fought and died. I was a medic, so I've seen life and death, and when we put our life on the line for this nation, it shouldn't be disrespected like that, especially in a public area where, the protests and all that stuff's going on. So, well,
and I also noticed, you probably did too, Roy, and thank you for your service, that the flag burning only goes one way. You've seen American flags burned. You've seen the Israeli flag burn. Does the Tea Party ever get out there and they burn the Mexican flag, or is there any MAGA rallies where they burn the Mexican flag as sort of a protest against illegal immigration? No, it's a hateful, petty, just lame vandalism. And it only goes one way as well. I wonder why that is. Robert in Princeton, you're on WBAP. Go.
Hey, James. My question is, first of all, I'm against burning the flag. I want to reach through the TV screen and slap those people in L.A. for what they're doing. But the question is, to me, is, okay, if you see there's 5 or 6 people standing around that flag and spitting on it, and some are putting fuel on it, but they didn't light it. So do you put the penalty on the person that lit the flag, or do you put it on the people that are squirting a little extra fuel on the flag? I'm curious what your viewpoint would be on that.
Man, I don't know. I haven't put that level of nuance in it. I guess you would charge them all like you would like a bank robbery. Like the guy who actually grabbed the money bag gets charged and punished the same as the guy who's driving the getaway car. So maybe you just rope them all in together like that. But I don't have that same level of hatred for people burning the flag, because most of the ones I see are younger, and so I almost feel sorry for them. How terrible must it be if you're 19, 20, 21? You don't hate this country. You haven't lived enough. You don't have enough lived experience to know to hate the country. You've been taught that this country's bad. You've been taught to hate this country. This is what some adults around you have put in your head, because you certainly haven't been running around having your rights violated or seen all sorts of atrocities and concentration camps and violation of rights, and women are subjugated. I mean, we don't wear burqas over here. We don't wear the hijab. We have free speech. We have the Second Amendment. You have the best luck in the world. You have the full complement of human rights here in America versus any other country. And it almost breaks my heart that these young people have been trained to go to the greatest country the world has ever known and learn to hate it.
But it's that freedom to not burn or burn, I think is what makes that even more passionate, right? Because if you're told you can't burn it and it's against the law, it just becomes an object versus the passion for, like the gentleman that was just on, that fought. They're fighting for the flag and everything it stands for, and it becomes a part of you, I think. Yeah,
and I find that mindset quite fascinating. In fact, that's what we're going to talk about with my next guest. It's like, don't you realize what a great country it is that you have the right to go out and burn the flag of that country just in the middle of the street, blocking traffic, breaking all kinds of laws. You're put on the news, and half of the senators and House of Representatives and politicians will go support you and say nice things about you. Aren't you proving what a great free country this is by your act of burning the flag? How do they handle that cognitive dissonance? My next guest is one of my favorite guests because I'm going to throw 3, 4, 5, what seems to you and me to be impossible questions at him, and he's going to crush them like Dixie cups because this is his little parlor trick. This is what he does. I'm talking about the great Evan Sayet, and the backbone behind his answers here is going to be his own unified field theory of liberalism. It was spelled out in his book, Kindergarten to Eden. It's been expounded upon by a couple of subsequent books. Welcome back to the James Show, Evan.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure, James. Okay, go.
Yeah, like we haven't been doing this for years. So Evan's specialty here is explaining the doublethink that happens in the people's heads. Examples. How can someone claim this is a fascist country when they go out in the middle of the street at a protest and burn the flag? What fascist country tolerates the burning of their own flag? Aren't they disproving their point?
Well, indeed. One of the arguments from the unified theory of liberalism is that leftist policies always happen in tandem, and at the same time that they attempt to elevate in esteem and stature all that is evil, failed, and wrong, for example, themselves as the fascists, they must elevate the evil they ascribe to their victims to the level of evil that they're championing. So they have to call us fascists. Let me give you another example. In the Middle East, they have to call the Israelis Nazis because they're defending Nazi-like behavior on behalf of the Palestinians. And so they must always elevate the evil they ascribe to their victims to exactly the level of evil that they themselves are engaging in.
But it still doesn't dawn on them. Oh, maybe I'm not in a fascist country. I just burned an American flag, and no one came and hit me over the head with a baton and put me in a re-education camp.
Well, by definition, if you are capable of saying how evil and horrible America is and doing so publicly out on the streets, doing it in the schools, teaching it in our schools, you didn't get a lot of anti-Nazi education during the Nazi era. You didn't get a lot of anti-Stalinist education during the Stalinist era.
Right.
If we were, in fact, exactly what they said we were, they wouldn't be dominating the media. They wouldn't be dominating the education system. They wouldn't be dominating the entertainment industry. So simply the fact that they're able to not only get away with it, but thrive. I mean, this is how many of them make their livings. This is what they do for a living.
All right, let's do the opposite flag discussion here, because while they're burning the American flag, they're waving the Mexican flag or flags of other countries. So answer me this, Evan Sayet. Here's another impossible question. How can a Mexican citizen wave the Mexican flag in America while simultaneously claiming it would be inhumane to send him to his home country of Mexico?
Right. They came and they are granted sanctuary specifically because they are fleeing. They have no choice but to flee. This is why they can't take the time to go through the actual legal system, because they are under such immediate threat that we need to supersede the laws that we have to allow them in immediately, to give them sanctuary, and yet that's what they want to recreate here. The idea is, amongst the people who support them, not just them, but the residents, the citizens in America who support them, is the idea that there is no difference between Mexico and the United States or any other cultures. So if Mexico owned California, then Mexico would be rich. The only reason we're rich is because we own their land. But in reality, if California were still Mexico, Disneyland would be in Arizona, and people would be digging out of California to get to Oregon. It's not simply that we have the land, it's the culture that they've escaped, and it's the culture that they seek to destroy here.
All right, we're talking with Evan Sayet. You can find his work at evansayet.com or really just search it. Pops up on all the social media platforms. Here's another somewhat impossible question. I giggle at these guys who show up and they've got their little motorcycle helmets on and they're throwing rocks and bricks at cops. But the claim is these police, these are evil, racist, murderous monsters. They're literally the foot soldiers of Hitler, Evan. If they were so scary and murderous and violent, would you really chunk bricks at them?
No, indeed not. And one thing that they have is the benefit of getting back on their scooter and going back to their suburban neighborhood as they start all sorts of fires. This is what they did in Ferguson, Missouri. It wasn't black people marching and burning down Ferguson, Missouri. It was rich white liberals who were bussed in order to do this. And in fact, it's one of Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. I found myself using this not only in my original book, The Kindergarten of Eden, but again in the book I'm writing now, which is one of the rules was it is up to us. And when he says us, he means rich, white, suburbanites, like the original radicals were, like the original 60s radicals were. It is up to us to go in and rub raw the sores of discontent. So they are intentionally falsifying history in order to anger the locals, so that the locals will burn down their own cities so that they can burn down their own cities. And there's such a great story in the news, which is that a Hispanic gang, a Chicano gang in Compton, has declared their area, their territory, a non-riot zone. So it's actually the criminal Hispanic gang members who are standing up for law and order, and it's the rich white liberals in California who are trying to burn down the Hispanic communities.
The next James Show meetup is going to be a comedy show, actually. I'm opening for Alex Stein. You've heard of him. He's on the Blaze TV. You've seen him do his viral videos in front of city councils all over North Texas and now across the country here. He's doing a comedy show on the 29th. I'm one of the openers, so come on out. Hyenas in Dallas. It's a 7 p.m. show. Doors open at 6. Need more info, email me or find me on Facebook. We continue with Evan Sayet, though. You can find his work at evansayet.com. He's an author, satirist, comedian, and has the great parlor trick of answering just totally impossible questions. Now, Evan, I don't know if you heard my next setup, and even if you have, let me play it for the audience here. There's a House of Representatives rep from California, Sydney Kamlager. I don't know. I'd never heard of her until this week. She said the ICE raids are domestic terror. Let me play this for you and get your response.
What do you make of the fact that Americans do still seem to side with President Trump in terms of supporting his immigration policy?
So there are a lot of polls that are all over the place. I would argue that this is not an immigration policy that we're seeing unfold. This is domestic terrorism. Yes, actually last term there was a bipartisan piece of immigration reform legislation that Donald Trump asked Republicans to kill because he didn't want Biden to sign it. We know that Americans support immigration reform. We know that Democrats support immigration reform, but they do not support ICE raids like this happening
Can I just
in communities.
Follow up with
you?
You said this is domestic terrorism. Can you just tell me what exactly you mean? Are you saying the ICE raids are domestic terrorism?
So what I'm saying is when you have grandmothers taking young children to church or to the grocery store or to a little Korean market like the one that was in my district that was raided, and all of a sudden you see masked individuals with no identification, producing no judicial warrants that have names on it, asking no questions, snatching people, putting them in a van, carting them off, detaining them, not informing their parents or family members, not even allowing Congress members to go in and check and make sure that everything is okay, and then deporting them, you have a real problem. We have 9-year-old children being yes, I would argue that you are terrorizing communities.
There you go. Evan Sayet, your response to that. Enforcing the law, now domestic terrorism.
Well, indeed. And I hate to do the same trick twice because people get to see how you did it. but go back to my original talk on my unified theory, and the other side, no matter what, they have to elevate the evil they ascribe to the innocent to the level of evil that they themselves are defending. By the way, that's not a totally novel idea. Accuse the other side of that which you yourself are doing. And that just is one of the rules for radicals. And so since they are quite literally domestic terrorists, there's no stretch of the English language required to recognize that the people that ICE are going after are, in fact, domestic or not even always domestic terrorists. They are international terrorists. That being said, in order to take the side of the terrorists, they must elevate the evil they ascribe to us to the level of the evil that they themselves are championing. And by the way, this is all simply part of an overall program. Right now, they are defaming the police, but that's just part of defunding the police. It's all a part of their war on the police and law and order and authority, because if you are part of a revolution, the first thing you want is chaos, which is why you find that people who are disparate, very disparate in what they ultimately desire. The Islamists don't want the same world that the leftists want. Quite the opposite. They don't. The Palestinians don't want queers for Palestine. So how are they allied? They're allied in the first part of their revolution, which is to destroy what is.
Okay, so does the riots, does that help the cause or hurt the cause? Because I think at this point, they're more likely to be turning more people away from their side of the aisle than winning them over.
Oh, I think so as well. I think they've exhausted their hysteria, and hysteria is all that they've had. It's all they've had from the very beginning is that Trump is Hitler. And by the way, it wasn't just Trump. It went back to Reagan was Hitler, Nixon was Hitler, Giuliani was Hitler, Bush was Hitler. Everybody has been Hitler because all they have is hysteria. If you actually attempted to have a rational conversation with the political left, there is no issue that they can thoughtfully, rationally, historically, factually defend. One of the most essential points that I make, and I make it in every one of my books, is that the political left never argues in the affirmative. They never tell you what it is they believe, why it is they believe it, where it has worked in the past, how it would work this time. Instead, they always argue in the negative. Everybody else is a Nazi, is a fascist, is a Hitler, is a racist, is a bigot, so you must vote for us by default. And even in the song, Imagine, which is nothing other than woke ideology put to music, it's completely argued in the negative. Once you get rid of nations, once you get rid of national sovereignties, once you get rid of moral codes, once you get rid of property rights, then you will have a utopia. Well, how does utopia work? They don't say. They just say use your imagination. So once you get rid of the racists and the bigots and the homophobes and the xenophobes, then paradise will reign. So they always argue in the negative because they cannot affirm, and they can't argue in the affirmative because there's nothing for them to affirm.
All right, I love having you on the show. What can I promote for you? EvanSayet.com. What else you got going on?
Just find me. Google me, find me, hire me, buy my books, make me rich.
All right, and if you want to see the original video that he was talking about that sort of kicked all this off, send me an email. I'll send you a link. It's like about 45 minutes. He was at the Heritage Foundation, and now it was, 18 years ago. And it will really explain a lot of what you see on TV, and then you can just go to step 2. Oh, now I know why they think what they think. That's not so weird. Now, step B.
The James Show Podcast.